Welcome to the Caregiver Relief Podcast, your go-to source for support, stories, and strategies to ease the caregiving load. I'm your host, Diane Carbo, registered nurse, and today we're exploring a deeply important topic: mental health in the shadows, emotional challenges on the rare disease journey. Joining me today is Wes Michael, the innovative founder and president of Rare Patient Voice, a platform that's revolutionized how patients and caregivers contribute to healthcare research. With decades of experience and a global community making real impact, Wes is here to discuss the power of voices like yours. This episode is sponsored by myvitalvault.net, your all-in-one life organizer for aging adults and caregivers. It's designed to help you securely store your essential legal, medical, and emergency information in one easy-to-access place. Because when a crisis hits, being prepared can make all the difference. Join our Caregiver Relief community, a warm, welcoming space where you can connect with other caregivers, ask questions, share stories, and find support from people who truly understand. Visit community.caregiverrelief.com to join now, because caregiving is one of the hardest and most meaningful things you'll ever do, and no one should have to do it alone. And if this episode speaks to you, please take a moment to like, share, or comment. Every click helps us reach more caregivers who need encouragement, resources, and hope. Wes, thank you so much. I know you're really busy. You've got this amazing product. It took me a while to get you on with me again. But I'd like to start, Wes, by making people familiar with Rare Patient Voice, what it is and how it got started back in 2013.
Thanks, Diane. It's always a pleasure to be with you and to talk to your folks. So what we do is we offer people a chance to tell their stories, to share their experiences, anything that they feel to those who are listening. And typically those who are listening are medical companies. They could be pharmaceutical or biotech. They could be medical device companies. They could be people that provide services. There are people that are providing things for patients and caregivers. So guess what? They need to listen to patients and caregivers. How will they know what people want or need if they don't hear that? And there's nothing more powerful. I'm a market researcher and years back, and I love my charts and my graphs and my 38%, but there's nothing more powerful to a decision maker than to hear a real person, to hear real people tell their story. That hits people emotionally. And guess what? Even though we don't admit it, most decisions are made emotionally. Yeah, they've got facts to back them up and things, and you don't want to do stupid things, but it's so important that people take advantage and do this. And so what we do is, for people that sign up with us, we don't share their names, we don't give them to anybody, we don't sell them anything, we don't spam them, but we get requests for interviews or surveys. And if you sign up, say you're a mom of a kid with hemophilia, so you're a caregiver, and we have a hemophilia study, we'll send an email and say, oh, we're looking for people. It's a 1-hour Zoom interview, or it's a 30-minute online survey, or whatever it might be. We'll tell you what it is, right? And invite people. And if they're interested to take part, they click and they do whatever on their phone or on their computers. And then we compensate people for that. So it's a real win-win. People want to share, and it helps companies take into account their needs. And then we pay people at the rate of $120 per hour of their time. So it's an hour Zoom interview. They get a check for $120. So it's a win-win. It honors their time, but most importantly, they get their voices heard. People that are making decisions will hear what they need and what their problems have been and what they liked and what they didn't like, or what they understand or what they don't understand, or how easy their website is to navigate. Whatever it might be, they need to hear directly from the people. Yeah, here's a funny story just from this morning. My wife got an email from Rare Patient Voice. She's in it for a couple different, she says, oh, I got something here. She says, I don't know, I wasn't qualified, but let me go in. And she was asking me, and she says, oh, they want to do, I said, well, just answer honestly. And she qualified, I guess it was 2. She qualified for one, but not for another. And then if she didn't qualify, she liked this. I forgot about this. If you don't qualify, which often happens, and people are frustrated, I get it. They want to participate and they're told, But it's usually because maybe they want somebody on a certain drug or a certain age, or they may love you, but they already have 5 people exactly like you that have come in before you. But the good news is everybody that doesn't qualify, every month we have a raffle for $100 gift card. So at least you have the chance to get something out of the deal. So it's at least if somebody on our team had that idea. So let's reward people for what they're trying to do. And we just appreciate people that have keep trying and do it. One other thing I'll say that we're very proud of, since, as you said, since we started in 2013, we've paid patients and caregivers over $18 million for taking part in studies. And it's well deserved. They deserve that. People's time is valuable and they deserve to be honored. And people need it. So many people in the community, it's not cheap to have a condition, no matter what your insurance is.
Yes. Now, how does Rare Patient Voice recruit patients and caregivers for studies?
Oh, yeah. We have various ways we do it. One way I love, I've done this from the beginning and I participated in this myself, is we go to events. You know how there's a walk for MS or there's
Yes.
a lupus conference or a new patient thing or support group meetings? We'll go to those events. We'll sponsor them, have our table. And I love it because we can talk to people. They can ask us what we're about and we can ask them if they're interested. And so that's one way we do it. We love that. Another is through our network of referral partners. And that's terrific too. We have now over 6,000. They can be individuals, they can be advocacy groups, representatives, or foundations, or whatever it might be. And we don't ask them to give us names because that wouldn't be like, respect privacy. They spread the word and they tell folks if they're interested to contact us. And then each one of those referral partners has a unique link. So if somebody signs up through them, we know who gets credit because we pay the referral partners too. We think it should be rewarded. They get $10 for everyone that comes through and gets through the process. That's a wonderful way. And then people also come in just by visiting the website, or they might see things on social media. And the website is rarepatientvoice.com. And you'll see buttons all over. Click here. And it's a good place to go and look, because I don't want people to blindly do things if they have questions. Go and look and explore and ask. We're not in any rush to get people to do something without making them fully informed about it.
Now, you have a community of over 180,000 members. Is that true?
That's true. Across 1,500 different disease and condition areas, not just rare and non-rare over the years. And as unfortunately, most people that have one condition have another condition. These things, they travel in groups. And then so many people, speaking of mental illness, so many people that have a disease, maybe because of that, have anxiety or depression or something like that.
Yeah.
What we love is, we don't love that people have these conditions, but if they do, we want them to list that because then they qualify for studies in any different area of things that may affect them, things that are major or things that are minor.
Yeah. I'm a perfect example. After our first interview a few months ago, I joined Rare Patient Voice, and I have chronic pain and I have migraines. So I signed up for both of those. And you're right, because of the migraines and the chronic pain, I also suffer from depression.
Yeah. It's hard to get away from this stuff.
Yeah, it is. And it really is. And so I get responses from you guys all the time saying, hey, here's a study for this or here's a study for that. Do you want to check into it? And I do. It's fun. And I look at it from the perspective, if I don't qualify for something, and it's most likely I won't because my migraines have pretty much resolved as I've gotten older.
That's a
They
good thing.
still exist, but I know what sets them off now. But I look at it as I need to be grateful that I didn't qualify, although I would like the money, but I'm not bad enough or I'm not the right age or whatever they're looking for. And I'm okay with that. Hey, at 72, I'm glad they're interested in my opinion about anything.
That's so true. So often they'll want people with a very severe form of a condition or a very extensive cancer or something. And again, when people don't qualify, we say, personally for you, it's good that you didn't qualify. Now, we're happy when people do when they want to talk to us.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not wishing you have bad health just to qualify.
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I want to shift to the emotional side of the platform because there are some key mental challenges that patients and caregivers face, not just with rare diseases, but with diseases like Parkinson's, dementia. Can we address that a little bit?
Yeah, that is so important because, as we say, it's so often that by having these conditions or being a caregiver for some, it pulls you down in a lot of other ways,
Yes.
and emotionally and mentally and such. We did a survey about that very issue with 1,000 or almost 1,000 of our members, patients and caregivers. And we found a very high rate of those experiencing, we call it emotional distress. A large majority had it at least some of the time. And only about 30% were seeing or saw a mental health professional. They're trying, and that's probably normal. People try to solve these things on their own, family and friends and network and support groups and things like that. But some of these, I think people could be well served if it's covered. I don't know how you pay for this, but anyway, by
Exactly.
taking advantage. But the other problem we saw, though, so many folks that even if they're getting professional help, it's a special subcategory treating folks with rare disease or with any disease that's affiliated with it. It's not just, I hate to say it this way, run of the mill
Yeah, yes, yes.
depression or something, because that's a special angle on it that I think they could really help people with if they're coming at it because of that.
I have a perfect example. I have a friend, she's a retired nurse practitioner, and she recently was diagnosed with stage 4 squamous cell
Yeah.
cancer. And it's first of all, she has no signs and symptoms except a little node that she felt on her
Yeah.
chest wall. So she goes to the doctor and they draw bloods and they look at her, they do her genetic testing and stuff, and they tell her they thought it was bladder cancer. And of course, she has no signs and symptoms, goes and has all the tests done. The
Yeah.
urologist tells her, you don't have bladder cancer. She was lucky enough to get into a specialist at Harvard. And he is a specialist that focuses on a very rare cancer. It's
Hmm.
squamous. It has to do with the lining of the bladder, the skin, the cells in there and the squamous cell. So it's a whatever type of cancer.
Yeah.
And but it's just worried her and they didn't know what the treatment was going to be. And that's frightening to anybody. And luckily, she had the ability to reach out to a mental health professional. But so
Yeah. Yeah.
many don't have the coverage or they don't have the ability to pay. And that's
There's a stigma in their minds about doing that, and it just makes
it's
things
very
worse.
yes. I know for men, and forgive me, you can beat me up over this. I've had husbands, sons, brothers. A lot of men just don't feel that they have a need to not only see a doctor, they don't think that it's good to share air their dirty laundry, so to
Yeah,
speak,
exactly, exactly. No,
to
very
somebody.
common.
And it's really sad because they can be helped so much.
Definitely. Speaking of gender, we found women were significantly more afflicted, if you will, suffering from the mental health burden than men.
Yes.
But then the men are less likely to do anything about it. And or are they really less, or are they just admitting less? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's you're walking the tightrope there
Yeah.
because it's just very challenging. Now, in your experience at Rare Patient Voice, how do parents and family caregivers' perspectives highlight unique emotional hurdles that people face in rare disease care?
The other thing that we noticed in the study that a caregiver is equally as much as patients are suffering. And you can imagine, because not only some of them may worry even more about their patient, but they've got the 24/7 physical and emotional burden of taking care.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then these burdens pile up because if you're a caregiver like that, you may have given up, and we see this all the time, you may have given up a lucrative career to take care of the person. You may have had to move to be closer to a treatment center. And so financially, you're not as well off as you would have been. And so how can you get additional support if it's not provided? How do you even pay to take a break? And you don't want anybody watching your patient. So again, it's a vicious circle of all of these issues that people have. But the way out, it appears, is similar for everybody. It's find support. So many people, they starting with their friends and family as their first
Yeah.
level of support. Patient advocacy groups can be very helpful because so many people will have gone through the same thing. And there's
Yes.
nothing like saying, because anybody can say, I know what you're feeling, but they don't really.
Right.
But these people, if somebody with the same thing says, I know because I went through it with my mom or with my kid or myself, and here's what I did. And it makes people feel that they're not alone, because that's the worst thing about all this. If you think you're the only one suffering from it, you don't see a way out. But it's always great to learn from others. That's what we're seeing. And you know what? One other thing is we ask people what kind of support networks they love. They really like online
Yes.
support
Yes.
items. There's certainly a convenience around that because you can do it from wherever, but online, look at my thing here. There's a nice list. Online support groups, social media communities. Those things were led the list even ahead of in-person support groups and things like that.
When I started my first website, Aging Home Healthcare, it was like 25 years ago. At the time, 50% of family caregivers were becoming seriously ill with a chronic disease, or they died before the person that they were caring for passed. It is now up to
Oh my goodness.
63%. And now with all the changes in Medicare moving to a cost sharing platform, we are going to, and lack of respite care availability, we really need to help our caregivers out. So I can understand that's why they like the online. They really do. And one of the things I can tell you is, having run an admin for several of them, you have to be very protective of your caregivers in there, because
Yeah.
when they join, and so that nobody's marketing to them, nobody's telling them there's a cure or not a cure for something, or throwing some weird, let's do a drink Coke for 10 days and it'll clear your
Oh
condition.
my God. Yeah. Everybody has their own
Everybody has
magical
one thing,
solution.
yeah, magical thing, coconut oil or whatever, and you have to be respectful of what people are dealing with, and I've dealt with that for
Yeah, yeah.
decades, yeah. And one of the things I have quite a few clients that are on a diagnosis journey, and the frustration they go through, because sometimes just the lack of a diagnosis can impact their mental health.
Yeah, it's that unknown factor. It's the worst
Yeah.
because I was just reading about someone, or someone was telling me, I can't remember, but as bad as it was when they got a diagnosis, they actually opened a bottle of champagne because at least now they had a path forward. At least
Yes.
now they knew what they were fighting. Because if you don't know what you're fighting, and you know how it is, you get a misdiagnosis, you get a treatment that might make things worse, certainly not better. So
Yes.
it's a horrible thing. So many of the people that I meet, patients and caregivers, they've been diagnosed because they wouldn't know what support group to
Yes.
go to. But I
Yeah.
hear about their journey, but I don't see directly a lot of people in the middle of that. But it's got to be the worst.
Well, it absolutely is. I've seen several. I can still remember, oh, this is showing my age, 45 years ago, I was in Memphis, Tennessee at a facility that I was working at. And this lady, we called her a frequent flyer. She kept coming into the
Yeah.
hospital, and she had these weird signs and symptoms. And it got to the point where they marked her as she was crazy.
Yeah, right. They have good answers for these that they don't understand. It's in your
Yeah,
mind, or
it's in your
it's
mind.
a women's problem.
Yes, yes. And surprisingly, we had this great diagnostician that finally looked at her, and he determined and found that she had a pituitary glandular problem that's very rare. And once he provided her with a solution, she became herself again. And it's
Yeah, that's
amazing, but I know that people do go through that, where you don't believe me, you don't understand. And I have several clients that I have dealt with that over the years, and I have to tell them, look, you're going to be told it's all in your head, but you just have to continue to try to get a diagnosis and seek other people. I've known people that have gone to 4, 5, 6 doctors before they found a solution and a
definitely.
diagnosis.
Yeah, it could be a long process. And we're seeing the people who persevered through that. How many didn't and never got a diagnosis?
Yes.
Another thing I remember seeing was, it's bad for everyone that's in that situation, but it tended to be more of a problem of not believing them and such if they were women versus men, if they were obese, or if they were a minority or a person of color. And even if people don't think they're being biased, they are in some way, shape, or form because they're putting people in a bucket and thinking something about their diagnosis.
I watch a lot of old TV and I'm seeing, like, I love the British shows, and I'm always shocked that women, when they were going through menopause or
Yeah.
had their PMS before their periods, were seen as having mental health and were actually pushed into psychiatric facilities. That
Uh,
shocks me.
and there's a related thing that I've always been skeptical, and I see this more and more playing out. Another thing, whenever, because we don't know everything, right? There's a million things we're
Yes.
still learning, and we'll look back at how ignorant we are now, hopefully, when we're from a future date. But so often when they don't understand something, it's either all in your head, but the other thing is it is due to stress. And
Yes.
a lot of things, I'm not discounting that. We know that
No,
stress is important, but
yes.
you can ask anyone and they'll feel stressed. Even if they're living a nice retired life, it's stress about a bicker with a neighbor, or what are we having for dinner? I don't know what it is, but that to me, remember they used to say stress causes ulcers, and then they found it was bacteria. So
Yes.
that's an easy fallback because I think everybody can say, "Oh yes, I'm feeling stressed," and then they stop the search at that point.
Exactly, and I know that people suffer from that, and our mental health delivery system lets people down because it's not available. Mental health is not available to everybody, and I know many people, especially anybody over the age of 65 on Medicare, has to privately pay for most of their visits after a period of
Right, and that's going to exclude so many people.
it is. Now, what personal benefits beyond research and contributions do patients and caregivers report from sharing their stories and experiences?
Oh, we ask people after they've done a study to give us feedback, and it's kind of like when you go to the Home Depot, they give you a survey. Not everybody answers, but I love it when people do and they write comments. And so often they'll say it was cathartic. They're talking to someone that's not a family member, but somebody that's knowledgeable and has a sympathetic ear. And they report they feel so good. Some people say, I was in tears, but it made me feel so good because I was able to get some of this out and know that it was being heard by others.
Yes.
So it's really wonderful to help support people in that way. It's a byproduct of trying to collect their information is giving them a chance to tell their story.
Again, that's why the online support groups do so well because caregivers don't have a specific time that they have downtime. And when they can get on to vent or help somebody else out, that's the other thing on the online platforms, the support groups. It's nice when you know somebody's going through what you're going through and they're at the beginning of it and you're in the middle or at the end of
Right,
that
right.
journey.
You're happy to, if you've already been
Yes.
through it, that
Yeah.
you can pay it forward, if you will, let people know
Yes.
and make their life. If I had only known this, it would have made my life easier. So let me tell you what that is. Yeah.
Exactly. I see that a lot more so with Lewy body dementia than any of the other
Oh,
dementias
wow.
out there because it's always diagnosed as a psychiatric condition first. And it's really hard and it takes a long time for some people with Lewy body dementia to actually get a diagnosis, which is very frustrating.
Hey, Diane, this is good, wonderful timing because I just learned something in the past few weeks that I think it could be useful for folks. Turns out my cousin is a psychologist. She is in the midst of publishing a book with a major publisher about shame. It's called How Shame Runs the World. Her name is Judith Pillow. We're happy to provide info. But the reason I say that, so often caregivers, especially, they'll call it guilt. But if you look it up, guilt is about a behavior and shame is about, I'm a bad person. People are feeling shame. Oh, I passed along this gene. I'm at fault. Or I
Yeah.
smoked. I'm at fault. Or I should have done better. And shame, from her book, her wonderful research, shame is the source of a lot of the mental health issues, anxiety and depression and such. And she has found with her patients that if she can get to this shame, she can solve a lot of the other problems. Because talk about undeserved shame, right? You
Yeah.
can't help that you passed a gene on to somebody. Don't feel personally shamed.
Also, the family dynamics, the typical family caregiver is the primary caregiver. The extended family and the
Yeah, yeah.
siblings don't get involved, but they're very judgmental. And when you said shame, it all of a sudden made sense to me because they brutalize the family caregiver. They demean them, they demoralize them in so many ways.
Oh,
And it does, it comes down to shame. And I didn't think about it till that moment, but they are awful to these family caregivers, and they make them discount everything they do. And of course, the caregiver is feeling guilty and awful, and they keep trying and trying to do better, or at least try to feel
and then
appreciated.
that'll get right to that burnout that they suffer, right?
Yes. So
And then they'll get blamed more.
you know what? That's oh my gosh, it
Oh
is.
my,
It's a vicious circle for the caregiver. So
yeah.
I really understand that. Now, what advice would you give to caregivers listening who are struggling with their own mental health in the shadows of a rare disease journey? And how can they get involved with Rare Patient Voice?
First of all, I can't speak to anybody's personal situation, how they're covered, but seek there's no shame. Seek professional help if at all possible. Even like with our employees, there's one of these telehealth things and you can send a picture in of a but there's mental health. There's X number of dozen like visits you can have. So hopefully there's some way, shape, or form, because just talking to someone can help get to the right direction of what you need and what you help. So I encourage everyone, don't be, and you know, the men we were talking about, you don't have to tell everybody you're doing it, but if you're feeling this way, somebody once told me with a physical ailment, you can say, my elbow and it hurts, but it'll get better. And they go, wait a minute. If it doesn't feel normal, something's wrong with it. Don't be ashamed to have a professional take a look at it. If you're not feeling, you know how you felt when you felt good. If you're not feeling that way, maybe somebody can help you get back to that. Treat it the same way. Do that. And then, as I said, we welcome caregivers of any and all patients of any and all conditions to join Rare Patient Voice. I'm not promising it's the answer to all the problems, believe me. But two things. It can keep you involved in the condition. It can keep you learning about new treatments and things as you see some of these studies. And all the things you're going through, just like we said, paying it forward to other people, it'll help people see that and incorporate that into new treatments, new services, and things like that. So I encourage people to do that. And it's you don't have to, you can see an invitation, you can ignore it, or you can see one you like and you want to do it. And it's totally up to you. And if you're in an interview and they ask you a question you don't want to answer, you can be just like a politician. You do not have to answer. You can answer a different question like they do, right? Nobody can, you're the boss. Don't,
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people. You're the boss. If you want to do it, fine. If you don't, you can just say, hey, I'm not comfortable answering. Well, that's a perfectly legitimate answer.
And the most important thing that I like is you come right up front and say you do not share data with anybody else.
That's so important.
Yeah, and it is. And I want to make sure that
Yeah, we go through all these special security arrangements, HIPAA, and there's a European thing, GDPR. We're very careful with that. And we don't provide it. We don't share it. We don't do anything without the patient's consent. When we do a study, this works out well. Say you wanted to do a survey. We know who you are, so we can send you the check for it, but we don't see your answers. The client who's analyzing data, they just see a long alphanumeric code. They don't know who you are. So nobody can put the two and two together. Oh, Diane said this. No, we know Diane did it and gets paid, but we don't know what she said or shared. So it's a wonderful system to keep it totally confidential for people.
and that's really important because confidentiality and privacy is so important to many seniors and their caregivers.
Oh, in this day and age, oh my God, it's identity theft and things like that. You don't want any of that out there. And people just worry if their medical information is out there, what will that affect their insurance? Or
100%.
nobody deserves to have that. And the last thing you want to do is get ads for something. We're not sending you any,
Yes.
we're not going to ever charge anybody for anything. All we do is if you are interested in it, and then we'll pay you for taking part. We're the opposite of a scam, right? So
Yes, thank you. Wes,
if somebody's asking you to send money, it's not us.
yes. Wes, how do my listeners find you?
As we said, the website is great, but me personally, I'm on LinkedIn a lot.
Okay.
Look for Wes Michael. I think I'm the only one on that. We have a wonderful Facebook site, but that's more for the company posts wonderful messages and things like that. So Rare Patient Voice on Facebook, and then all these other social media ones that I have to admit I know of but don't go on, like the
Yes.
TikToks and Instagrams and
Yeah.
things like that.
Rarepatientvoice.com.
That's it, rarepatientvoice.com.
Yeah.
The source of all information about us. So.
It's great. To my family caregivers out there, you are the most important part of the caregiving equation. Without you, it all falls apart. So please learn to be gentle with yourself. Practice self care every day because you are worth it.